using the body to express, to move, to feel spacious. Sometimes we call it dance, and I find that that turns people off because people have a connotation. They think they have to learn a routine, or they have to do it in front of mirrors, or there's a performance aspect. And Core Connection is not that at all. It's being your own dance partner, your own movement partner. Through a number of synchronicities, and I think some of you, that's probably happened to you, I fell back into the world of horses about 4 or 5 years ago. I was getting all these little messages from different places and landed on learning about FEEL, Facilitated Equine Experiential Learning. And I spoke with Wendy and Andre, who are at Horse Spirit Connections north of Toronto. And I was very lucky to do their program with them, the training. And boy, did I have to learn a lot about horse handling, because I was coming from a very naive and very unknowing place. And I'm still learning a lot about it. I actually call myself a lifelong apprentice. One of the things that I talked about, or that I guess came out, was because as I grew more passionate about being with horses, learning about them, and finding out this unbelievable energy field that existed with a horse, and being able to connect energetically and through my heart to the horse's heart. And I was talking about this energy field that's on the dance floor, through movement, the energy in my body, and through my own heart. I thought, what if we brought those two things together? Now, I just want to add something. I know lots of people do sometimes movement with horses, and so it's nothing new. But for me, it was really courageous for me to try and put both those modalities together. So let's see what I've got here on my slides. I'm hoping that they're working correctly. So I'll just give you a moment to read that. So I ended that little introduction with curiosity and beginner's mind, because when I was beginning to learn about the equine experiential aspect, I was a beginner, and the best way for me to be comfortable in it was to keep telling myself, yes, this is the first time you're doing it, but all these people out here who are horse people, they all had a first time also. They weren't born knowing it all. And so because I was trying to always be in beginner's mind, it was easy to let go of things that I thought I knew. So in this presentation today, when I'm just giving you some information, I'm just going to ask you, be in your own beginner's mind and just bring along your curiosity. That's all you need. So I want to tell you, you are in the right place and it's the right time. When we go into our bodies and when we start to use either with horse work or on the dance floor, one of the first things that we look at, or that we actually explore, is breath. So I'm going to ask you all right now just to press pause. And I just want you to check in with the way you're sitting. Maybe you're standing. And, you know, quite frankly, if you want to just listen, you could be lying down even. So just check in into your body, and hopefully you'll notice your breath, because our breath is always there for us. It's an anchor. And I would invite you to check in with your breath and only notice. You're not changing it. You're not making a judgment about it. You're just noticing there's always an inhale, there's a turning point, an exhale, and then there's a pause. And that's one of the most fantastic parts about our body, is that it's always there for us, our breath, and we can always return to it. So if you're in a noticing mode about your breath, you might notice some things about it, whether it's fast or slow, or where it is, high up, deeper in your belly. And I just invite you to notice it with gratitude. Just the rhythmic flow. Sometimes people close their eyes, they find it easier to access their breath. And then we want to bring our attention to our body. We can start to look at different parts of our body, but what I like to do is I like to just start in this. I would say, just check in with your shoulders. Where are they? Just notice what their position is. Are they up a bit scrunched, or can you try and let go and let them just melt in those blades? They're almost like little wings in the back. See if you can just let them melt down. Always just with that breath in the background. And move down to your feet. I'd like you to notice the outline of your feet on the floor, or the earth if you're outside, or maybe you're in a barn. How much of your foot surface is in contact with the earth, or in this case, the floor? You know, there's your heels, there's the mid part, there's your toes. So you're just noticing. Maybe you have to adjust them a little bit. It'd be great if they were bare feet, but if not, that's okay. And see, can you invite your breath to kind of head down towards your feet? And then I would ask you to move to your heart. So bringing your attention to your heart. Now, it's a tough thing to actually connect with. I mean, I can say, what's the outline of your heart, but it's taking up space in your chest area. And sometimes people like to take their hand and just put it there just to give them a physical location. They might even feel the beating of it. Bring your breath into that heart area. So the breath is just caressing the heart. You're greeting it with some tenderness. Sometimes people even do a little massage motion. And see if, when you're bringing your attention and bringing your breath to your heart, if there's a little bit of opening. Remember, there's an inhale, turning point, an exhale, and a pause. And so this is very similar to a body scan exercise or activity you might do with people in the presence of a horse. And it's very similar to what I might do warm up for a core connection movement practice. The idea is we want to become present. We want to be able to access our breath. And in doing that, we're starting to access the energy that's within our own body. and in our field around us. We're not even accessing yet energy from maybe the horse or other people. So check in, just do a quick check in with your entire body, the outline of the body, you're taking up space. And again, we're just in noticing mode. What's happening in our body? What's going on? So as you do a little personal scan, is there some hot and cold temperature maybe? Maybe there's some numbness somewhere. Maybe one part of your body wants to be moved or adjusted. There might be some tingliness. As I said, numbness, or there might be a real feeling of aliveness. And just check in. You might even have some fluttering or some electricity, some anticipation. Maybe there's even some tightness. Could be coming from some anxiety. We've already lived part of a day today. Some of you longer, you're already in the evening. So just check in with that body. Notice what it's saying to you. And just be friends. So back to what I was saying earlier, could I or could we take facilitated equine experiential learning, which is the energy work with horses, the heart connection, and core connectional transformational arts? What would happen if we brought those two together? I think it's really important to have a mentor. And so I just want to mention that my mentor at the time, and the mentor for this work that I was doing, was Wendy Golding. And she's the one she was, the perfect mentor. She was encouraging, she was a support, she was there, and she was non-judgmental. Like everything was a good idea. So what's the recipe? So the equine and human heart connection, we need to have some kind of body awareness. So it's really important to have some kind of a warm-up. Where's my body? People have driven to the ranch maybe, or the farm. They've already had part of a day. They've arrived. They've maybe been anxious. They're not quite sure what's going to happen. And so they need to have some body awareness. So it's important to have a warm-up. Also, horse body awareness. They need to know a little bit about space and about the personal space, the spaces between connection space and environmental space with a horse, their own safety, and can they read the horse's body language, the ears, when it turns its rump towards you, that kind of thing. Now, that doesn't have to be a big lesson, but participants need to know a little bit about it. And they also have to remember that they're respecting the horse's boundaries as well. And so again, bringing in that beginner's mind, letting go, leaving ego at the barn door, everything you know, drop it. So coming in with a sense of curiosity. So core connection is very similar. When people come to a session, it's the same thing. I have to start off with a warm-up. Where's my body? Where is it right now? What kind of space is my body taking up? What about my movement? What wants to move? Oh, I'm stiff and sore here. That part doesn't really want to move. Or, wow, that part is really frozen. I wonder what's going on there. And of course, with the core connection, there is music. So the music is quite specially curated. It's not just a bunch of favorite songs. Starts off very meditative, begins to move up into more of a very slow flow and a beat. And again, bringing curiosity. So when I start my equine sessions, and if I do, and if I'm doing core connection, I consider it a very sacred time to be in the presence with a horse. So I look at it as a ceremony. Other people may not, but I encourage everyone to find their own way of making it some kind of a ritual. We have our intuition that we can use, but and there are all kinds of other resources we can use that we personalize to make it our own program that we feel comfortable with. I often use smudging at the beginning, smudging participants, smudging the horse, smudging myself. At that time, asking people, what's your intention for today? And they don't have to share it, but just what do you intend for your participation today? I've sometimes done a cacao ceremony, which is with pure raw cacao. It's considered a heart-opening substance. It is legal. It's not a illegal hallucinogen or anything like that. But sometimes when I've had a group, we've done that. And one of the most important parts is the silence. And of course, that would mean, obviously, no cell phones, even on the person's person, and not talking. So trying to go inward and, again, bringing forth that creativeness and that ceremonial aspect. So core connection dance movement is the same thing. I consider it a ceremony, and it is a way to come home to the body. We are out of our bodies a lot. We're often cut off here, and it's all head work, thinking, problem solving, making lists, one thing after another. And we have to do that for survival out there in the world. But when we come into a movement practice with our bodies, we're actually coming home to our bodies. So we can let go of all that mental chaos and, again, relying on intuition, so listening inward, and having some kind of music to guide us and guide our bodies. Aha! I've run into naysayers. Oh, that's so woo-woo. Oh, like, where's the science? I cannot follow this unless you give me some kind of science. I don't believe in all this energy work. Like, what the heck? Energy is when you plug in an electrical device. And so it's important to have some kind of backup, at least I found that, to give something to those people, the ones that will be saying, it's just, I can't, I'm not in that realm. I'm not ready to enter into that, I guess I'll say, spiritual aspect of life. And so, of course, there is some science behind it. It's not a coincidence that, this is one of these coincidences, probably about a year or so before I started learning about the energy work with horses, was I had read the book about from the Heart Math Institute about developing a heart coherence. And that was a new world for me. And so part of what I learned through that, and that I learned when I did my certification, well, my training and certification, is we all think we just have one brain up here. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't speak for you, but the common thought has always been that this is the brain that's up here. And now we're learning through more research and people exploring new areas that, okay, we have a brain here. We have a brain in our gut also. And we also have some brain energy stuff that's going on in our heart. And I think this is the most exciting thing that we're learning about our bodies now. So we know about plasticity in our brain here. We're learning about our gut and this biome that we have here, all the things it can be related to. We just kind of ignored it for so long. And we've also learned that our heart is like a brain. So it has an electrical field and a magnetic field. And those of you that do work with horses, if it's therapeutic work, this is probably not new to you, but I wanted to share it because I know that there'll be some people that are participating in this and they want to find out more about what is this energy field? What is that that's going on in the round pen with the horse or out in the pasture? So one of the things that I learned was that the electrical field of a heart is 60 times greater in amplitude than the brain. And that there's a magnetic field of that heart that is, according to research, 100 times stronger. And so often when I speak to people and I'll call them the naysayers, and they say, well, come on, that's only special people can do that. That's only, oh yeah, that's only if you've been, you're some kind of a spiritual guru, you can sense all that. Well, no, it's not. There is some valid science and research. So if you haven't yet read any of the research or books from Heart Math Institute, I would highly recommend them. So music as well, our brain can release a chemical called dopamine, and it obviously can reduce stress, lessens anxiety, improves our mood, can create a sense of happiness. But the music also is something that we can get lost in. It can help us to lose our sense of maybe the things that cause some anxiety. But the music also has to be, I don't want to call it a certain type of music, but what we would maybe call like really heavy rock or raucous kind of music is not going to be helpful for your heart brain to communicate or for your heart to open and just overall in your body. And as well, if you are in the presence of other people and or with a horse. So there is quite a bit of research about music and how it can help with relaxation. So in Core Connection, movement practice, there is a playlist, and as I mentioned before, it's curated to some extent. So in other words, by that I mean, it starts off very meditatively and very slow and moves into more of a heart-centered rhythm and slowly begins to move into a slower flow. And so there's a wave, so it goes up into a higher energy and then it comes down. And if that isn't followed, then the body can react and not be, I don't know, not be able to express itself or want to move further. And we might even move into more of a freeze aspect where we're not as open and as flowy with our body. So if you just take a moment and think about music that you may use for relaxation or background music, the kind of music that brings you a more heart-centered approach, brings you more inward. And I'll have a little example I've got a shorter video clip that shows some parts of an actual session. And then we also have some information about movement, that there is energy in our body and that it does flow. If people do things like Qigong, they know that there are energy centers and meridians, or if you use EFT, which is an energy tapping, to also access that energy flow in our body. And so movement helps to move that stagnant energy and get it flowing throughout the body. It's also good for blood flow, obviously. It's good for our heart health as well. Our bodies were made to move, and as our evolution on Earth has come, more of us or more people are spending more time sedentary because of the way our life and world has evolved. And it's even more important then for people to be able to move and use their body if they've been sitting for quite a long time during the day. It's also been shown to improve medical conditions. So I think, Linda, I just want to check. Okay, that's summary. I'm going to go back from that. So Linda, I think what I would like to do is to show the little video. I'll say a little bit about it before, and then, we'll just watch it. I tried my best. I had a longer clip. It was I did a session at a conference 2 years ago, and melding the two modalities. And so I had some longer raw footage, and I tried my best to get some from each sort of part of it. So what I would ask you, I have a few instructions for people as they watch it. And maybe just before we start, I might do a little bit of a body bringing awareness, because we're thinking now quite a bit. We've received information, so we're doing our little mental work. And so being in that relaxed state, so you are in effect a witness to what happened at the session. But I'd like you to not be a disassociated witness, like just a spectator. I'd like you to be as engaged as possible in your body. So you will hear there'll be some facilitation helping the participants come into their bodies. And so I would ask you to try your best. I know you're watching a video and it's over Zoom, you're not there, but can you be in your body? And at that time, when you're watching what's going on, see if you notice some things happening in your body that aren't related to thinking. So you might notice something in your organs or something going on in your body. Remember at the beginning of this presentation, I said our bodies are always speaking to us, and they're always sending us little messages or information, and sometimes we don't notice them, and that happens. It's not something that we need to feel badly about. That's just the way it is. But try and pay some particular attention to what might be going on in your body. See if you're getting some information. I often say it could be even a picture, it could be color, it could be all kinds of things. So being in a relaxed state, but not being dissociated, being one of the almost participants there. I'd like you also to, if you can, is notice what the participants are doing, how they're moving their bodies, how they're responding to music, how they're responding to facilitation, and how they're responding to being in a round pen with a horse. And one more is watching the horse behavior. There's some language going on, and just again notice, what is the horse saying or communicating? And is there something we can learn from that? So I sort of gave you some work to do while you're watching, but I hope that you will find some things that perhaps maybe jot them down, or you could even put them in the chat. Yeah, I think that's all. It's funny, when I've been watching this raw footage, I have to say that was 2 years ago, and I thought, oh geez, I would do that a bit differently now. And I love that, because it's lifelong learning. Remember I said I was an apprentice? So that's what we all are in this situation. Okay, Linda, now I've got to, might have to help me here with this a bit.
I have to minimize that and then bring up your video.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to, let's see what happens when I do that. Let's minimize this. It's not what I want. I want.
There you are.
And the video should be loading. Let's see. Keeping my fingers crossed.
We had it doing before. Ta-da.
Is everyone seeing that, I'm hoping?
Yeah, just give us a yes in the chat pod if you can.
Or no if you're not.
Or no if you're not. Find my chat pod go. Hold on, where's my chat? There we go. Yep, all good. Yep. Awesome.
All right, so again, press pause. Checking in with your breath. Having your receiving ready, because that's what we're doing. We're not seeking, we're not searching, we're receiving the experience, and we're being experiential. We're checking in with what's going on in our bodies.
And if there are any parts of your body that are making themselves known, see what happens if you do send your breath there.
I forgot to mention before that it does end a little bit suddenly, but those are the clips I just took from the session that we did at the conference. So Linda, shall we, I guess, check and see about questions or comments, or I'm going to close off I guess, stop sharing, correct?
Yeah, and you'll put your PowerPoint back up.
Okay.
Sure. Why don't we get some feedback, how people were feeling on the video before we do Q&As. So if anybody wants to put up in the chat pod there, just comments on the video. I know the video sound-wise, there wasn't any sound towards the end, or was there? The sound had gone off towards the end there, so that's okay.
I guess
it was an internal exercise.
What I wanted to make sure was just to show sort of some different beats of music and what was going on at the time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, if anybody wants to share in the chat pod there, how did that, just Gabrielle, what you were saying at the beginning there is like, how did that feel for you, and how did, or what did you see? If you want to share in the chat pod there, or if somebody even wants to come off mute and do it, that's fine too. I think everybody's still on mute. You have to come off mute if you want to share. There we go. Somebody knows who the horse is. Pat says, I love watching Encore's reactions. So for those of you that don't know the horse, that horse has had a very, very, very interesting life, and he's a very, very interesting horse. Tara.
Hi. Yeah, I didn't get any sound throughout that, but the essence of it was really beautiful. And yeah, I lost it halfway through, but what I did pick up from it is the don't really know how to explain it, but you know, you could definitely feel the curiosity of the horse, obviously seeing the energies, and then I was just interested because I was just making some notes about, and I made a question about heart math, and then you mentioned it, so that was really lovely. Just how the heart have heart math looked into the sort of the coherence of the horse's heart as well as the participants? Is that kind of been something that you've looked at, or?
Yeah, and I also didn't say at the beginning that the people that participated in this session are all facilitators. So it wasn't as though this is not video from people who had just signed up to do a session.
Right. Okay.
I've done it once one-on-one with one client, and I also did a little session at was kind of a kids camp, a kids horse camp, and so they were maybe about middle school age or so, maybe about 11 or so, and they were a little bit inhibited about movement, but all the same, sometimes people will think, oh, dancing with horses, they think that the horse is going to be all around with them and that's not really the case, unless you're Kevin Costner on the movie Dances with Horses or whatever, Dances with Wolves, whatever. But I was hoping, and of course the camera was a stationary on a tripod. I didn't have professional person who was videotaping it, but to be able to sort of see some of the language that was going on, either between when the horse went up to someone and stood there, or if the person was doing this or being open, and yeah, just the use of space and what was going on. So yeah, that's what I would say was the coherence part, when there was times when the horse went up to the sort of the 3 people or the 4 people and just spent some time there. So that's how I would interpret that.
It was really beautiful. Thank you so much. I wouldn't mind if I could access the video to hear the sound next
Yeah,
That was really lovely. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure.
that's too bad. Yeah, anyway, well, I guess we learn about technology, but
As we go.
hopefully what Linda, the recording will show that it should.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll check it and see. Yeah, if I may, Gabriella, is that there is that heart math and horse. There was some research done. We can add that link where
Yeah.
there was research done, but where the horse had a monitor on and the person had a monitor on. And I can't remember what doctor that was with.
Yeah, I see a question in the chat about the person in black. Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody have any commentary about that, about the relationship that was going on there at all, or anything they notice? Or
I noticed that Encore was watching and interacting with the people who were not as vibrant at first. And then it was like he stood still and you could feel, I could feel his energy starting to ramp up and thinking, oh, this person wants to play. And there was an interaction. It was beautiful. It was short, but it was beautiful, where they played, the person in the black coat and the horse, and then stood perfectly still. And it was almost like, oh, that was nice. You know, like there was I really felt a conversation going on between the horse and the individuals as well. And at the very beginning, I loved it, even though there was no sound. It was very apparent to me that when everybody, I'm assuming that everybody was coming down, because it was like that Encore stood and just held space. And then there was, watching his ears, there was a curiosity. Oh, what are we going to do now? And then it started to happen, and he was right there. And the energy flow between whoever was interacting with him, I could see the body language of the person as Encore interacted with them. It was wonderful to watch with no sound. I enjoyed that with no sound. I'd love to hear it with sound, but I was able to focus more on the energetic connection that was happening without the sound. I happen to really like music, so I probably would have been totally involved in the music. So anyways, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Good observations.
Interesting. And I hope that answers or helps with your question there. Was the man strongly affecting the horse's attention? I don't know if you have any feedback on that, Gabriella, to what do you, there you are, Anne.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, thank you very much for all those answers. It seemed to me he was hyper aware of what the man was doing, whether it was because he was dressed in black or his movements were almost staccatoed at times, and he could feel the energy moving forwards and backwards. It kind of dominated Encore's attention in a way that he couldn't escape, and the women, I felt, were less demanding of his attention or less strongly affecting him.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Awesome. Thank you for the observation, Anne. Is there any other questions or comments in the chat there? Oh, Anne, in the work? Yes.
May I just ask, those of you who work with horses, was Encore really enjoying that?
Oh yeah.
How can you tell by looking at, what are the body signs that he likes that?
For me, it was his, oh, sorry, Gabriella, go ahead. For me, it was his ears. They were in constant, well, not constant motion, but yeah, he was very aware. And I'm convinced that their ears are like antennae. And not only that, but a couple of times I noticed that his penis slightly dropped. And I know from experience that with a gelding, that means that they're relaxed and enjoying. So yeah, I have absolutely no doubts that he was thoroughly enjoying it. I also got the feeling that perhaps he hadn't been exposed to music before. So this was new, but he didn't spook. He was curious about it. Not, at least that's what I felt. He wasn't afraid of it or anything else, because he knew he was in a safe environment just from all the other energy around him. Yeah, so that's how I could tell that he was engaged and that he was enjoying it. He wasn't taking off and standing over, where nobody was. He was engaged with them.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would also add that a number of times the horse was licking and chewing when beside a person. And that's often a sense that everything's fine, I'm content. And so just that action itself shows that the horse is comfortable where they are.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's interesting. Tara says she felt he was sharing his energy between all of those that were dancing. So many different energies. Yeah. Excellent. Awesome. So if there's no more questions, Gabrielle, I don't know if you want to put the summary slide up and then we'll do the Q&As, or do you want to do Q&As?
Yeah, no, I'll thank you. And I'm going to, so that means I need to share, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And oops, I need to, okay, get out of there for a minute. Get into share screen, which is lots of little buttons here that I have to push.
There we go.
Yeah, so is that, you can see it and you can hear me?
Absolutely, you're doing great.
The infamous, can you hear me? On Zoom. So yeah, so I guess the summary is that for both modalities, there is this idea of a body awareness, that our bodies have energy and that our bodies are made to move, and that our bodies have these vast amounts of information, and that our bodies can be our partners. And in this kind of a situation, the horses can be a partner. And that's also vice versa as well. And I think that the biggest aha for me that I learned throughout this process, and also with the movement practice, is that there is no outcome. There's no guaranteed outcome. Even when I was filming this session, there was no guaranteed outcome. I mean, the people might have brought a type of energy with them that, as Pat said, or, the horse could just take off to the end and not move, or start spooking or anything like that. And I think that's the thing that appeals to me. And I think it appeals to people also, that there is no, that at the end, to say that there was this outcome, and that we can't be attached to it, because we just never know, especially when we're doing energy work and in an energy field. And that ultimately that our breath is one of our biggest resources. And that's how I would close it off.
All right, I'm talking away there on mute. Classic. So we do have a question from Tara, and she's asked if you've tried this movement practice outside in the open too.
No, but I'd love to. I would really like to. It's just, with speakers and things like that. And, but yeah, no, I'd love to do that out in, on ground. I mean, it was in the ground there too, but yeah, I would love to do it in maybe a smaller contained pasture. Nice. Is that what Tara meant? I'm assuming, yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. I'm wondering if you could speak to us a bit more about this core connection. Like, where did it start? What's?
Sure. So core connection is a movement practice, and I learned from a woman. Her name is Eva Vigran. She's actually originally from Europe, but lives most of the time in California. And she started her practice learning about it through, there's some different dance modalities, 5 rhythms, and through Anna Halprin, who was a very well-known dance teacher down in the States. And Ava developed this practice that was meant to be a healing practice. She calls it a medicine, the movement, but it does have to have the embodiment, the breath as a resource, and specific sequence of music, not necessarily songs themselves, but a sequence of music that goes in a pattern. Often when the music does have a lot of singing or words, people get caught up in that. And so they start singing those songs and they kind of get caught in thinking about the song. So it's nice to have a good mix of no words, just the music or words, or sometimes more world music where you don't know what the words mean. And so you don't get caught up in thinking through the song.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And for us, have you explored yoga also?
Not with horses, but I've seen it. I think it looks great. Yes. As a matter of fact, I saw some on, wasn't it one of the videos, something I saw very recently with the yoga and horses, and it looked great. Very fun.
Yeah. Yeah. They can provide a lot of feedback.
Yes.
Absolutely. Great question. And any other questions that you have here today? Do we have any more? And we are doing perfect on timing. So that's great. I'm just going to pop back on video here. Actually, nice to stop here, finish here with is one final word. It's nice to finish with is there a word that Gabriella's presentation leaves you with? If you type that in the chat, just what's the one word that you're feeling within your body, or curiosity, or that beginner's mind. I think those are great statements. They're great thoughts to take forward. But yeah, can anybody type in the chat pod there? Just maybe one word that you're feeling right now or leaving with. Getting some. Takes a bit to type it in. Anne says exploration. Lori Leonetti says excitement. Would love to try it. Where can I find the type of music? And Anne says enchantment. Oh, you guys got the great words. Pat, what are you feeling? Present. Tara says present and curious. I think that's a good question Lori has. Is this type of music available, or is it available within once you're?
Yeah, what I don't know how, well, maybe I don't know how we could do it, but I could post the playlist from this. But any music, I would say any music that's used often in yoga or meditative music, or relaxation, heart-centered music, that kind of thing. I think sometimes when you're searching in iTunes or music, you can type in the genre or something, and you might get some good choices to use. That would be my suggestion anyway.
Okay, yeah, we can see what we can do about afterwards, what we can link up to. Pat says energized. And Laurie says, great, thanks. She just got into the heart map work as well. So yeah, once you're down that rabbit hole, you're there. Awesome. Well, thank you, Gabriella. That is wonderful. It's so nice to have that time. And there's, like I say, a group of us that have worked with Graham in England with sort of a meditation and that. And this felt like one of those. So Anne and Rosanna have been in that too, and it sort of felt like one of those sessions. So it was like, oh, we get to do it, because we don't get to do that this week. So thank you for allowing that. Just a little to finish off. So I'm going to be posting this recording later on today. So each day I'll post at the end of the day the 2 sessions that we did that day, with any contact information that the presenters want posted. We encourage you that's a really good place for you to go and mention your appreciations or have any questions. I would love to keep this conversation going, and the conversation meaning this one and all that we have this week. We have over 100 participants in this conference, and part of it is learning, part of it is being inspired, part of it is getting to know each other. So we do have, and I'll send this as an email out, but we do have a private page called Humanity Needs the Horses. If you're not on it, you can head over there. It's private. I'll just let you into it. But that's, I think, a good place for us to continue the conversation and introduce yourselves to each other, get to know each other. And, you know, the beauty of it is we're all from all over the world here, and what great contacts we can make and work together. Or when we go to visit countries, as Gabrielle and I were saying before, we get to go visit different people. I went to England in January and met 3 of the, you know, of the presenters we're having this week. I got to, you know, go and visit them and their farms, and I had a great time. So I think that's really important for us. I think that's it. Just checking my notes for closing up here. Yep. Oh, and we're going to post this all on YouTube channels. So I'll just go and Gabrielle, when we're done here, I'll ask Gabrielle for her permission, and then we will, I will work and putting those up on our YouTube channel, and we'll put it over up on the Equine Leadership page. So with that being said, thank you, Gabriella, so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It has been a pleasure to have you all. And if you're going to show us, come tomorrow, we'll see you tomorrow morning bright and early. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.